Yeah, but I don't know. I caught the Sound of Freedom over there, poisoning people's kids for fame over social media because the stars over here, where the kid will go off and try to like jump into like a story like detective, like Harry Potter or stuff like that, and then go off and like be like fuck everybody around the space him and just act all trashy. And by the time they engage into that specific one without a proper system, they're thinking that it's like third world Colombia or something like that. Yeah, so by the time they were doing that show, I'm like, yo, don't have a fucking system inside the United States for like intelligent people to go off and like tell them not to fucking poison in a hotel. Yeah, and definitely not to worry about stuff that's way to like adult females over here. Yeah, they'll go off and like be part of like a Vogue magazine or something like that. Go off to like somewhat swing on the space here, so they participate into like high end escort on the space. I don't know, man. They have the old escorts, and eventually they got whatever that is over here that's being rescued by law enforcement. That will go off and be part of the program or project. I don't know. I don't know what is her point or something. I know she's talking to the current escorts. Apparently, escorts are telling her that they want to escort. So and eventually, it's just like, well, what is their point? And they're like, well, we don't want nobody to like do prostitution. We all want them to go to church. And I'm like, well, there's a thing called a freedom of liberty. I mean, if you were so persuasive and like so convincing into like all communication, then somehow you get all these escorts over here to like go off and stop escorting. The same way that you possibly get all drug dealers to stop drug dealing. But somewhere the communication doesn't hit somehow so that you have drug dealers like the mills going to like do drug dealing. And coincidentally, just like the drug dealers doing their drug dealing, because apparently the war on drug is a failure, apparently the war on pussy and the war on like prostitution is a massive failure. Because apparently the chicks will still find a way to like prostitute themselves on the special. So I shrug. Yeah, so like I said, mentally ill people with midlife crisis. Yeah, so the way they get them is from the top over there. You get the bosses, that's like the admin, like the police chief, and then you go off and you shake down that person over here inside of his own courthouse in front of his own judge and his own lawyer. You shake them down like fucking pussies. And then you just for their behaviors, you do the behavioral analysis on them. And then the main one you watch out for is the contractor, like the military female over here. That's gonna be the most annoying one. That's gonna be an admin, but she's gonna be a civilian. That's gonna go off and like try to see if she can still get you to commit an error. Yeah, and then you delay the process of like a due process for you over there. So she's gonna try to like be a thug inside the federal system over there to try to go off and like get you to commit to like a mental error. So she could go off and like get you to like stab somebody to death. She'll do it. She'll go off and delay. She'll go off and like poison the entire fucking system, or like law enforcement and the court system itself, until you could go off and like stab that old lady over here. With her mentally ill boyfriend on that bike over here. Yeah, midlife crisis. Until you could stab the two of them, just so you could go off and like end up in prison, and then eventually they make you look like you're the crazy one over here. So you have to be extremely patient, and then let that military bitch over here go off and like kill everybody around the space here, because that's a trend in history over here. Killing and stuff like that. The civilian sector does not know that they're part of a killing program that go off and like be psychopathic, so they don't represent love at all. They're always trained to kill. The military is a black weapon, the weapon of death on the space here. By the time you open a weapon of death to go off and do a detective work that's never been in the military over on you obtain a terrorism inside that space here. Definitely a terrorism, especially with a collab from like a police group from like Pakistan and Transnational Arena. That's like way to a third world space here, where like they can go off and like arrest you for assaulting, like arrest you on the behalf of the sultan over here that have his own codes. That's way to like arresting somebody for like insulting a sultan, and then choose someone that's who the police inside the United States try to collab with the police group, because of the fact that the police just so happen to have a caste system, so they got to see them beat up a caste system with like tattoos, and they're like, wow, these guys are like really trained, we like this dude here. But they don't know it's a caste system that's like a stray dogs on the streets of them, and then eventually they have trained dogs that say to the MMA over there that just go off and like put a piece of paper in front of them and tell them that we know where your uncle lives at, and we torturing them to death in prison or stuff like that, and we could kill him any time. And like, okay, and then they just go in, and then they get BDSM by the well-trained dog over here, actually on the military and the system, or like a bloodline that's like above the caste system, yeah, by decree. So somewhere the American police force decided to copy Dumber and Dumberer because of the fact that they just happen to have a few sultans that come through like free private jets and rich cops around the space here. So they go off and they do mountain hiking on like scuba diving with or something. And then eventually they do like a few music show, of course the condos and stuff on WhatsApp. So they think by the time they think they're proper, all that stuff out on WhatsApp because they give them a few contracts for like millions of dollars, they go off and they copy ghetto nest from like other football like Pakistan, and then they try to like reintegrate right here. Yeah, so because I'm intelligent over here, the ghetto ass fucking military bitch, yeah, that's like the undercover over here. We'll go off and like make sure that I could end up stabbing. They gonna treat this space over here like a prison space, and they gonna try to annoy the person as much as possible. Initially, they will not get into me, and then eventually they're like, yo, fuck it, just go off and use a chemical to go off and see if you can somehow cause his heart to stop later on, premeditated murder immediately. So by the time I sensed that in there, I said, yeah, she polluted the entire fucking system and tried to make it look like a joke. I said the only outcome that's left for that is for death. I saw somebody's gonna get hurt. I filed so many reports ahead of time warning them that the tactic that they're using, you're sacrificing people just to go off and make sure you can cover up along the space here. I said instead of like backing down, like going by your first and admit to your mistake, you still continue that shit over here until you can sacrifice somebody in that process over here, either me or somebody else, or either all like three of us into like our party and so on, just so to make sure that somewhere somebody dies in the process because of the fact that you can't form a proper argument in front of a judge in America to ever sound convincing as to why is it that you should arrest Mr. Oliver or like give Mr. Oliver the death penalty. It sounds like gibberish in front of a judge over here. So by the time you're done over here, you're like, fuck it, let's go off and like use these mentally ill people. Yeah, to then go off for like assault Mr. Oliver with chemicals to go off and like make his heart stop, and then under the guise of like feminism, we're gonna claim that the imagination that Mr. Oliver is watching is harming us because of the fact that Mr. Oliver invited us inside his private phone over here, or his laptop or his desktop to then go off and watch him jerk off to like an imaginary character, like SpongeBob SquarePants having sex with like underwater squirrels. Yeah, with goblins and stuff like that. So somewhere she claimed that it hurts her as a woman to go off and see this type of stuff underneath Jesus Christ over him. What's up? Yeah, so that gave it the right to go off and someone corner with her girlfriend to feel empowerment because of the fact that SpongeBob SquarePants just saw us want to like punch a squirrel in like a fighting game. And she felt that her womanhood is under attack. So somewhere that was the excuse for the middle of with the midlife crisis to then go off and attack Mr. Oliver. Because now their mentally ill girlfriend is offended and like their daughters and all that stuff like that. And as fathers, they should have the right to go off and like open up my locker room, open up my car and go to my stuff there and then try to study how to do my curls or like how to do my technique to go off and like appear in front of the Mr. Universe show here to go off and make my money. And then coincidentally, they're going to copy it and then they themselves will go down and like somewhat participate in the Mr. Universe show over here and make money off of it while they push me out of the competition over and over again. So that's the current situation that I'm dealing with into like all fucking mentally ill asylum shit that the Navy gave me as a problem. It's my first year, like abuse of power in the space here. I say, yeah, so over here you have to keep your cool, record everything, and then by the time they're done over here, they even try to prosecute you for even any little thing. Because I intentionally tell them that I'm a fraud to the Veterans Affairs system just to go off and see if they ever try to prosecute me inside of a cause. The minute they do to bring me inside a cause, the first thing I open up is that everything that I recorded, and then I ask them like, yo, why did you end up poisoning me in front of the judge and jury? And that's the end of the discussion. And then I always get a settlement, more like